In 1933, Franklin D. Roosevelt took on the face of fear when he faced the Great Depression as president. But it wasn't the stock market crash, the wars, or the economic conditions that worried him. It was the way people reacted and how their moods were that made him afraid. And so, before everyone turned against one another, he told everyone in a speech that he knew the realities the country was facing. But despite the hardship the country did face, it faced tougher situations in the past, such as the American Revolution and the Civil War. He said, "The only thing we have to fear is fear itself." And like he said, America did get through the rough situation it was placed in. But people during the Great Depression weren't the only ones who faced a scary situation in their life. We all face problems that make us wonder how we'll get past them. And we let those problems create a fear that makes us believe there's nothing we can do about it. Perhaps you're low on money. Maybe you don't have a job right now. Or maybe you're trying to get yourself out of what seems like an impossible situation. But in Robert Greene's book, The 50th Law, it goes over how you have to be fearless whenever you're put into a tough situation. In fact, Robert Greene and Curtis Jackson, aka 50 Cent, state in the book that conquering fear deals with turning the tables and deliberately putting yourself into difficult situations. So let's take a look into the most important lessons of this book. The first rule is, accept intense realism. When Curtis Jackson was a boy, all he wanted were the very things that seemed impossible to have, such as money, freedom, and power. But he grew up in a dangerous neighborhood that seemed impossible to escape from. The only options he saw was a low-paying job or a life of crime. Both options had negative outcomes he didn't want happening to himself. But one day, an older hustler named Truth told him not to complain about the harsh life people faced on the streets. Instead, he had to see through all the games, scams, and stupidity that surrounded him on both sides. People can be arrogant sometimes because they believe their perspective about life is the right one, and they don't even bother listening to other people's opinions. If you just watch the people around you, you'll see a lot of people who criticize the world for the way it is, but do nothing about it. We all know reality can be harsh, and it takes a constant effort to make a place for yourself in this competitive world. Not to mention all the irritating people who try to bring you down along the way. This is why you should resist the temptation to wish life was easier or the way you want it to be. Instead, be like a child who's hungry for knowledge and see the world as it is so you can adopt in it. Don't be someone who's constantly wishing life was easier but never take any actions. You have to be like water and adapt to whatever situation you get yourself into. You have to fearlessly accept whatever circumstances you find yourself against and embrace it. However, know that this can never happen if you don't allow yourself to take risks. Most people remain dependent on their horrible jobs because they're afraid of sinking or swimming on their own. They'd rather stay at their stable 9 to 5 job instead of taking a risk and opening a business, writing a book, or making a living for themselves. Instead, you should be more afraid of what will happen to you if you remain dependent on others throughout your life. You must learn to develop a mental state of ownership, meaning you have to have a habit of taking 100% control of whatever task you've been given. Your goal in every situation in life should be working in a way that makes you the boss. Even if you already have a boss, you should own whatever you're given so you can prepare yourself for bigger tasks in the future. Today, you might have to work by following the mail, but if you can't even take that job seriously, what makes you think you have the discipline to run a company in the future? The second rule is, take a look into opportunity. For over a year, 50 Cent was working on an album finally getting ready for release at his records company. He poured his heart and soul into that album that explained the tough life that he had. However, a few weeks before the launch, someone tried to kill him, and to keep themselves away from the violence that was in his life, his record company canceled his album and dropped him from their contract. Dealing with the assassination attempt, having no money, and fired from his dream job, life looked pretty depressing for him. But as he laid in bed recovering, he heard rap songs from the radio and knew the rappers singing in it were lying about their personal experiences in the hood and knew nothing about it. This was when he took the opportunity to create a new style of rap and released his new songs that attacked everyone who ever did him wrong. And the songs he sung brought him more fans, and he gained more followers based on the songs he released out into the public. Every negative situation can be seen as a positive situation or an opportunity. It's just the way you look at it that matters. If you lack the proper resources to do whatever you want, it could be your greatest advantage because it might force you to be more inventive with the little things you have now. You might not have a car now, but you can use this opportunity to do things you couldn't do when you had a car, such as read more often on the bus or socialize with the public. Just don't let fear make you wait for a better moment to take action. If there are circumstances you can't control, make the best of them. Make an attempt to see all negative events you see as a gateway to a new advantage you didn't have before. If you don't have any money to spend on the product you want to sell, use this opportunity to find small, creative ways you can make money, such as from the internet or in public. But if you try to micromanage everything in your life just so you don't take any risk, you'll end up losing in the long run. You end up never taking action because you're constantly wondering if there's a chance of failure. But the real answer is to let go and move with the chaos that presents itself to you. Keep moving and learn from the mistakes in the past. If you encounter problems, just slip around them and keep going. And the third rule to apply is learning when to become a leader. In the beginning of the 20th century, Thomas Edison became a visionary strategist and businessman. His method was simple. With his understanding of business and social trends, he would find people throughout the world and explain to them his hopes and long-term dreams. He would explain to his inventors how using the power of electricity can light up entire cities in the future. He explained to the scientists how motion pictures could entertain the masses. In the end, Edison would give people dazzling presentations of his ideas and get his inventors and researchers to work harder to make such an amazing dream a reality. In any group you find yourself in, there's usually one person on top who sets the tone. If the leader is fearful, scared to take any risk, or lazy, then this would invariably cause the entire group to act the same. Most bosses assume that complaining and harassing others to work harder is productive, but it just makes the other employees work with a sour spirit. Instead, you must adopt the opposite style by showing the people you work with how you like them to behave through your actions rather than your words. If they see you working harder than anyone else with high standards and confident while making tough decisions, they'll be inspired to follow you. Don't bother telling someone constantly how to behave. Show it to them through your actions. And the last is respect the game and master it. Throughout Curtis Jackson's life, he faced many challenges and difficulties that the average person would not survive. If at any moment he'd had doubted himself and accepted his limits, he would have never reached the place he's at today. The fools in life want things fast and easy, such as money, success, and attention. Boredom is their worst enemy, and fear. You, on the other hand, want to outlast your rivals. You want to build a foundation for something you can continue expanding. You must learn early on to endure the hours of practice, knowing that in the end, all that time will make you a master of that craft. Your sense of who you are will determine your actions and what you end up getting in life. If you see your reach as limited and helpless because of so many difficulties, then you'll receive the little that you expected. So you must train yourself by aiming high and believing you are destined for great things. Because in the end, your self-worth comes from you alone and never the opinions of others. Overall, by adopting the fearless principle, we gain a sense of knowing what's truly important. We have a sense of urgency and mission. If we can overcome the fear that's in our hearts, then there's nothing left to fear. And that's the 50th Law by Robert Greene and 50 Cent. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching the video. If you have a book you'd like to see in the future, be sure to leave a comment below and subscribe. Alright guys, hope you have a great day.